happy Sunday. I hope you're having a lovely weekend so far. The other day on Instagram, I asked if you guys had any dating or relationship questions that you would like me to answer. And you guys sent me the best questions ever. There's a real mix here of questions about like my personal love life and stuff that I've been through. And then also some questions about like advice that you guys need. Some scenarios that a lot of you seem to be going through similarly. So I'm going to answer them for you today. There are a couple that I wanted a male opinion on as well. I thought would be quite interesting. So I sat down with G, my boyfriend, last night, and we went through a couple of the questions that I thought a man's perspective might be helpful for. And so I've written some things that he said down below too in my bullet journal. So yeah, I'd really like him actually to come on this channel at some point in the future, give you some of this advice directly from him, but I am a bit wary still of really putting someone on my channel again because of what I went through before with my ex, which was quite disastrous after we broke up. So I'm unsure about that, but we'll see, maybe one day. Also just going to quickly apologise because I know the lighting is going to keep changing in this video. The sun's coming in and out. Let's start with a light-hearted, easy one. Are there any things that annoy you about your new boyfriend? I would definitely say we're still in the honeymoon stage. It's only been 4 months, and so I'm definitely still loved up and seeing him through rose tinted glasses, and he couldn't do anything to possibly annoy me at all. But there are a couple of things. Whenever he's getting ready in the morning, he will always chuck a pair of socks or a pair of pants at my head, and it's normally when I'm doing my makeup, and the amount of times that I've ended up with mascara all down my face because it's made me like blink when my mascara's still wet. That really annoys me. I think he does it because he knows I get annoyed. I guess one thing is that he is really great at everything, but if he can't pick something up immediately, he gets really frustrated with himself. Maybe annoyed isn't the word, but that upsets me because he is genuinely great at everything and could do anything he put his mind to, but he just gets so like frustrated with himself. So it just makes me want to kind of hold him and be like, you can do this, like stop panicking, like be more patient, slow down, you've got this. And also it annoys me that I don't get to spend every minute of the day with him at the moment, which is so lame. Definitely still in the honeymoon phase. I hope this phase lasts a long time because it's just, yeah, it feels really lovely. I'm sure the more time we spend together, the more things will start to annoy us about each other, but so far so good. I've had quite a few questions asking how I brought up the fact that I was engaged with my new partner. How did you bring up your relationship history with your new boyfriend? Were you nervous? I actually told G on our first date that I used to be engaged. I'm very open and honest on dates. I think honesty is one of the biggest things for me personally in a relationship, and also I'm very open myself. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm not ashamed or embarrassed about anything, and he was absolutely fine with it. I think it would be weird for someone not to be fine with something like that, being as we're all adults, we all have history, we all have baggage, and if someone can't accept that, then maybe they're not worth having in your life. I'm not nervous about saying it. In fact, I feel really proud when I say that because it shows bravery and strength in me for leaving a relationship that really didn't make me happy. I think it's only like a positive thing because it shows that I won't settle for anything less than perfect, and that I know what I want, and that I'm not dating someone just for the sake of dating and getting married and stuff like that. So yeah, I wasn't nervous about it and he took it really well. How do you not feel anxious before a first date, coming from someone who loves true crime? Quite a lot of questions about how to stay safe on app dates. This is going to sound very obvious and quite dramatic maybe, but a rape alarm is an amazing idea. I actually have one that I used to carry around on first dates. That was until it went off on a first date in the middle of a restaurant and everyone looked at me and I was so embarrassed. After that, I didn't take it out as much, but that is an amazing idea if you're feeling anxious like that, because they're so easy to just whip out and alert people that you need help. I always used to screen grab pictures of the guy's profile and send it to my mum or my friends and be like, this is what he looks like, this is his name. Also used to tell them where we were going, where we'd meet. Also, me and my family use an app called Life 360. It's kind of similar to Find My Friends, but it's where we can basically all see where each other is. It's quite intrusive, but I love knowing, like I love being able to look up that my mum and dad are at home safe. And similarly, they like looking up and being like, oh, she's here. So that if anything goes wrong, they know exactly where your location is. I think that's an amazing app. Even if you don't want to do it with your parents, I've also got a group with my housemates, so we always know where each other is. So it's like, oh, I'm walking around the house naked. Where are they? They're nowhere near. They're not going to barge in on me like just washing up in my knickers. I'm actually going to write a full blog post on how to stay safe on app dates because I think it's a really important one. So yeah, I'll leave a link to my blog down below if you want to check that out. Insecurity, re him having more partners and more long-term relationships than you. I've got this quite a couple of times, people who feel really insecure and self-conscious about the fact that their partner has slept with loads more people than you. I think the best thing to do firstly is to remember that stuff like that is kind of relative on age, and so someone who is a little bit older than you probably will have a lot more partners than you. Same thing goes as if you've been in a relationship for a long time, whereas they've been single for longer, then you're going to have completely different numbers of partners that you've been with. Doesn't mean you've had any less sex, potentially, just means that they've had more frequent one-night stands or whatever. I think before you ask this question to your partner, you really need to try and work out why you want to know the answer to it. I think you also need to know, you need to basically know in your head, right, if he says this number, then that's going to upset me. Like, you need to know where your limit is, kind of what you feel comfortable with your partner having had and what would upset you. And if you have any kind of suspicion that you're not going to like the answer, then just don't ask at all. I think it's only going to lead to you just feeling even more awful about it. In the past, I've always asked my partners how many people they've slept with just because I'm super nosy. But with G this time round, I think I actually asked him about a month ago. I remember us lying on the sofa and I asked him, and then before he said, I was like, actually, I really don't want to know. Like, it's none of my business really, and I don't want the answer to upset me, so I'd rather just be blissfully unaware and feel fine in that. I think you should also take reassurance in the fact that they're with you now, and that's all that matters. Like, everyone has history, but right now in this moment it's just you two, and that's all that really matters. I think if you've been with your partner for a long time and you find this out and it upsets you, then hopefully you're at a stage in your relationship where they can reassure you about it and make you feel a bit better. But otherwise, I think, yeah, you need to ask yourself, why do you want to know the answer to that? Because probably not going to gain anything from it. Also remember that old saying of men double the number of people they've slept with and women halve it, or something like that. I had a lot of questions about how to keep up kind of morale and how to not get demoralised when you're going on all these dates. How did you not get fed up with dating? I feel like I have 4-ish dates and then need a break. How to keep up hope when you're in your early 20s and never meeting decent guys. How do you stay positive when none of the dates you go on work out? I'm on the dating apps, but finding the admin and disappointing dates are getting me down. Any tips? So many questions like this. Oh my god, it's gone so dark. Yes, I have a very good tip for this. I would say just go into each date having absolutely no expectations. That way you're not going to be disappointed and you're not going to have to feel like you're getting your hopes up every time and then having them crushed every time. I think if you just take a step back and look at it like, I'm going for a drink with a new person tonight and I have no expectations of them being my life partner or the one or even a potential fling, then I think it'll be a lot easier to stay kind of motivated with it. Like, it's good to be hopeful, but don't put too much pressure on it. I think one of the best things that could come out of a first date is a second date, so that if that happens, that's a massive pro and a massive plus. But if that doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. This is very sad to say, but I think it's the truth, and I think knowing this will help a lot of you. But it's very rare to find your soulmate on your first ever app date. I think you're going to have to go on a lot of them to find someone quite decent and someone that's right for you. And the chances of you finding them straight away, unfortunately, are quite slim. You have to remember, I went on about 50 dates over my 2 years of being single. I think I had 31 first dates and a handful of second dates as well. And on my 31st app date, I met G. It took a long time to find him, and I had absolutely zero expectations going into our first date, so that when I went home and I had a big old smile on my face and I was like, oh, I quite like him, then that was a massive pro. I've said this before, but treat it as meeting a new person, making a new mate, having a few drinks, having a laugh. Take the pressure away from it and you'll feel a lot less demoralised and a lot more motivated to go and meet up with them. I know it's annoying when you're either having to spend a lot of money on the dates or it's taking up a lot of like time out in your week, but maybe coffee dates can be a bit more affordable, don't have to be like drinking out all the time. How do you let a guy know that you don't want to pursue it further? I find this so difficult. This is such a great question and one that I definitely had a hard time with when I was single and dating loads. Oh my god, this lighting is going crazy. This is so frustrating. I guess this really depends on the situation. If you're on the date and you've already kind of made up your mind that you don't want to see them again and they ask you for a second date, I think it's fine then just to be like, oh, I've had a really lovely evening but I'm not feeling anything romantically. But I know the thought of doing that face to face can be petrifying, especially if you don't know them very well and you don't know how they're going to react to that, because unfortunately some people can be assholes. So what I would normally do was wait until I get home after a date and just say, I've had a really great evening. I'd normally list a couple of things that I really enjoyed about the date or about them, like you really made me laugh, like I loved this conversation, thanks for introducing me to that place, it was really fun, but I didn't feel anything romantically, but I wish you all the best in the future. And I never had a bad reaction to that. Probably the worst that came from that was a guy being like, okay, but why? And then I had to explain, or I'd just get ghosted, which is understandable after that, or they'd be like, oh, that's absolutely fine, felt the same way, good luck in the future, and that was great. And if you've been dating them for a while and you're not feeling it and you don't want to pursue it further, then I think just be honest, just be really upfront, do it as soon as you kind of feel that way, so you're not wasting your time or their time. Huge fear of first date awkward silences. Any ideas to combat or get past them? This never really worried me because I feel quite comfortable with kind of silences on a date. I feel like it can sometimes show that you feel really comfortable with each other, and luckily lots of dates that I went on were very talkative and filled awkward silences. But maybe you could do like a quick fire round, so you could be like, right, you need to choose one or the other, bring or Christina, Coke or Pepsi, toast or cereal, and just quick fire, stuff like that. And you will find conversations around each of those, like, what, Christina, but Brittany's amazing, da da da. But if it lacks again, then you can start quick firing again. I think that's a nice idea. Maybe just have some basic questions lined up that you'd like to ask, like, oh, have you got any holidays planned? Have you got a best mate, brothers and sisters? Just stuff like that. Maybe I'll write a blog post with some opening leading questions for first dates. If you're scared of awkward silences, let me know if you'd like to see that. Can you see yourself settling down with G, or is it too soon to know? Glad to see you happy. That's a really sweet question. I can. I think we've both got to the stage now where we definitely know what we want from a relationship. We're both at that age. He's 38, I'm 30. I've been engaged before. He's had serious relationships before. I think both of us wouldn't date anyone if we didn't think that it could go further and we could settle down with each other. So yeah, I feel quite confident in saying that I think he's the one. Obviously things change, people change, but right now I'm very happy and I think we have a really nice relationship. I feel embarrassed about my lack of experience at 18. What should I tell my new first boyfriend? I actually don't think it's any of his business. If you want to tell him and you feel comfortable saying that, then just be really honest about it. And you shouldn't be embarrassed about not having any sexual experience. Some people have those experiences much later than you. I think it's worth saying if you're feeling very nervous about it and you want them to know that you want to take things slow and make it a bit more comfortable. But other than that, it doesn't really matter. You'll learn things with him, and yeah, the worst thing to do would feel embarrassed about it. It's not embarrassing at all. You're 18. Did you ever feel embarrassed about using dating apps? My friends shame me for it. That's really sad. That makes me really sad because it is so difficult to meet someone nowadays without the help of dating apps. I personally have never felt embarrassed about it because so many people are. All my single friends are, and because it is so difficult to meet someone out on the streets. I mean, the only people who would probably shame me for it are those that have never been in a situation where they need to use it before. But you're meeting new people, you're getting out there, you're having a good time. There's nothing to be ashamed of for that, and a lot of my favourite couples have met on dating apps, so they do work. Thoughts on breaking up and getting back together? Had quite a few of these questions as well. This is one that I debated quite heavily with G, because he thinks that it's fine to get back together with them. He's done it previously in the past. But I think it's a complete waste of time, and I think that if the relationship doesn't work the first time, then it's very rarely going to work the second. I guess it kind of depends why you broke up the first time. If cheating was involved, then I think definitely not. Don't get back with that person. I don't think people change like that. If you have like really fundamental differences in opinions on things like marriage or children, then I don't think those things are likely to be swayed by someone if you couldn't potentially do that the first time. I just think it's a complete waste of time. G's view was, well, you just don't know, and what if they could change, and if you don't try it for the second time, then will you be forever regretting that and thinking, oh, but what if it could be amazing, what if it could change? Like, would it affect future relationships if you didn't give it a go? Would you regret it? That to me does make sense, but in my experience, I think if a relationship can't work the first time, then it's definitely not the second time. But that's just my advice on that. How do you dress up on your first date? You're my favourite YouTuber, thank you. For first dates, I used to actually go quite casual, but kind of a little bit sexy as well. I'd normally just wear like a pair of black high-waisted trousers with either a little like black crop top or like a t-shirt showing a little bit of like shoulder, or yeah, it was always very casual. I always wore the same boots. I call them my date boots. They're like massive. They give me height, but they also look casual. I always used to wear my favourite perfume, so I felt really confident. It's Diptyque's Eau de Well. It's like a really gorgeous warm vanilla fragrance that I always got complimented on as well. Just be comfortable and wear something that you feel confident in, and if it goes well, then you can always dress up a little bit more for your second date. What are the red flags to look out for in a relationship, and also what are some less known red flags to look out in the early stages of your relationship? Quite a lot of questions about this. This is one that I spoke to G about. For me personally, one of the biggest red flags is your partner lying about something that doesn't matter. This happened to me so much in my previous relationship. Right from the beginning, he'd lie about the most ridiculous things, and they were so obvious that they were a lie. Lying about non-important stuff, I think, is just such a big warning sign, because if they're that easy, if it's that easy for them to lie about the small things, then how easy is it going to be to lie about like really big things, I think. Also, arguing very early on in a relationship, if you're bickering about little things or big things very early on, that shows that you have fundamental differences with how each other act or behave or view things, and probably a red flag that things aren't going to work. Also, one that G and I came up with was similarities to exes that haven't worked, because it could show that they have traits that didn't work previously. I think it's worth avoiding. I guess also the obvious ones are any sort of manipulation or gaslighting early on in a relationship, any form of like control or disrespect, I think are very big warning signs. And I think you'll know deep down if there are things that you wouldn't stand for in a relationship. I think it's really worth writing down a list of things that you absolutely won't put up with in a relationship, because then you know kind of your boundaries and what you're willing to accept and not accept. For example, mine would be, don't want to date anyone that does drugs. So for me, that is a red flag. Do you and your boyfriend split the bill on every occasion, or do you take it in turns to pay? I guess it's quite equal. We try and keep it as equal as possible. But if he asks me out on a date night, for example, or wants to take me to a really fancy restaurant, he's covered the bill for that, because that's something that he really wants to do and treat me to. Same with me. But otherwise, we try and keep it quite equal and like either take turns or split the bill. I think that's fine. Do you guys say I love you yet? Yeah, we do. I've loved him for a long time, but I remember the exact day I was like, oh my god, I actually do love him. And I think I was trying to convince myself that I didn't for a really long time. I was a little bit in denial about it, I think. I kind of tried to ignore the feeling and pretend that I didn't feel like that, because I think I was putting up barriers, and I was so scared to feel those things again because I've been hurt so bad in the past. It's kind of like a protection thing. But I remember the exact day I asked my parents and my sister, how do you know when you're in love with someone, and all their responses, and I was just like, oh, I need to stop pretending that I don't, because I absolutely do love him. And it was a couple of weeks before we actually said it to each other. He said it first. We had a really cute day together where we'd just have this intense eye contact, and it would be at the tip of my tongue, and it was also at the tip of his tongue, but we were too scared. But yeah, we say it now, and it's lovely. Every time he says it, I still get like butterflies. And I also like that we don't say it all the time, because I think that really shows that when you do say it, it means a lot. Will you and G be doing a boyfriend tag sometime soon? Maybe. I'd like to. I think that would be really fun. Be nice to introduce you to him properly. He's great. You'd all love him so much. Do you think you'll get engaged again? Hopefully one day. I'd like to get married. Definitely wouldn't do it unless I was 100% certain. I've got two questions which kind of link and go hand in hand. The first is, how do you approach the subject of being exclusive when you've met on dating apps? This is such a great question, and also one that I have good experience with because I've been through that. And also there was a question here of how many dates until bringing up the is it serious question. I think when it comes to this, or when it comes to saying I love you, I think it's when it's playing on your mind a lot, then that's the right time for you to bring it up. I don't know, it really depends on where you are in your life, because things do naturally happen a lot faster the older you get, because you do know what you do and don't want anymore from a relationship. I guess it doesn't matter how long you've been dating. If that's what you want and that's what you feel, then you should just go for it. Yeah, if you're thinking about it a lot, same with saying I love you, if you're thinking about it a lot and it's at the tip of your tongue and all you just want to do is ask that question or say those words, then that's the right time. In terms of the best way to do it, if you've both met over dating apps, I think what G did was perfect. Could be as subtle as saying, like, I'm not dating anyone else, like I'm not really looking at the apps anymore, and kind of judge their reaction on that. And if they're like, oh yeah, no, me too, that's like the best reaction, obviously. If they kind of clam up and they're like a bit more hesitant about it, then you know that maybe it's going to take them a little bit longer to want to be official or exclusive. Basically just want to approach it like that and judge if they're on the same page as you. G did this on one of our dates. I think it was actually our 5th date. We were having a nice long discussion about dating and stuff, and he got his phone out and was like, I'm not on, like, I haven't used the apps since I've met you. I'm happy just doing this, just us two. And I was like, yeah, me too. Like, I haven't even gone on the apps since we started dating. And he got his phone out right there and then and deactivated his profile and deleted his apps, which was such a big kind of sign to me, very visual, that he was committed and wanted us to be exclusive. Yeah, it's very sweet. How do I encourage my partner to be more experimental in sex? How to spice things up in the bedroom is quite a big question. I might actually make a Q&A all around sex as well as this. So if you want the answer to that, I'm going to make another video with all the sex questions. I'm also going to ask for more sex questions from you guys on my Instagram stories, so come and follow me over there if you want to ask that soon. Do you think it's possible to ever stay with someone once they've cheated? I can't talk for most people, but me personally, I don't think I'd be able to. Even if I loved them so much, if they'd lost that respect for me enough to be able to cheat, I don't think I could ever go back there. How do you know when it's time to end a relationship? I think you've already answered that question for yourself. I think if you're thinking about it and if you know and you're not happy and there are things that you don't like about them, I think if you're looking at other people at all, then that's probably a sign as well. And finally, introverts and dating, how to date when introverted and shy. I really like this question. As an introvert myself, I think I'd call myself a sociable introvert. I love nothing more than spending time by myself, and if I spend too much time with people, I feel very anxious and can't manage. So I need time alone. Luckily for me, working by myself at home alone is great. But yeah, I know that this can be a massive thing if you guys are quite shy or introverted and find it really difficult and meeting new people, then dating is going to be very difficult. But what I would say to you is that this is a great opportunity to kind of play the most confident version of yourself. Try and gather that energy you have around your nearest and most loved people, your friends and your family. If you can kind of put on the person you are with those on your date, then I think that's a really great idea. You're not pretending, and you're not putting on an act, and you're not like completely changing your personality on the date. You're just kind of trying to embrace the person you are with people that you feel most comfortable with. And yeah, if you don't want to stay up too long because you need time at home again to recoup after, then maybe just say to them initially, I've only got a couple of hours, hope that's okay. Yeah, there are things you can do. Maybe I'll write a blog post about this as well, because I think that's a really interesting topic of conversation. I really hope you've enjoyed this video and found it helpful. I'm so sorry I didn't get to answer all of them. I've been filming for an hour and a half. I'm gonna have to cut this down so much, but maybe I'll film a part 2 for this video soon. Let me know. I'd also like to film that sex Q&A, so if you have any questions for that, come over and follow me on Instagram, and I'll put that Q&A box up soon, or you can send me a direct message on Instagram too. I love you lots, guys. Stick in there. Your soulmate will be out there somewhere, I promise you. I love you guys lots. Mwah.